Welcome to On Trial, starring Mark Radulich, also starring Sean Comer. Hope you're ready, Hollywood, because you're on trial.
All rise. Court is now in session. Judge Judy presiding. Every time I do this, I can never think of a good judge. I go through like the same 4 or 5 different people.
Judge Joe Brown?
Maybe. I you know what? I think before the next On Trial I do, I'm just going to write down like a list of judges.
Judge
famous,
Wapner?
You know, one of the On Trial guys, one of the quiz show guys brought up Judge Wapner, which I had forgotten about. But you're right, Judge Wapner from the People's Court. Hey, I'm your mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich, and on the docket tonight. Top of the morning to you. It's St. Patrick's Day, and we are putting the horror comedy classic, cult classic, if you will, from 1993, Leprechaun, on trial. And joining me today to discuss this, to plea bargain this movie. This is going to be one of our plea bargain editions, where we're not going to like hard debate it. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and the shamrock. Ladies and gentlemen, the soulless ginger himself, straight from Ireland, Jason Teasley. Top of the morning to you, Jason.
Top of the morning to you, Mark. My shillelagh is all primed and polished to discuss this.
I'm just realizing the egregious error we've already made in this show, and I almost feel like we need to start over again. Neither one of us is drinking Guinness. I mean, I'm drinking green tea. That's what I'm drinking.
Well, I'm drinking Capri Sun fruit punch.
You gonna crinkle it again into the microphone?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to.
While I'm talking, I hope so. Very good.
Hey, you got to get the last drop out of it.
I understand.
I gotta make sure that you're paying attention.
You never want to be a dirty girl. You want to make sure you get every last drop and not a single droplet on the carpet.
Right.
Anyway, moving on. So it is St. Patrick's Day as this is airing. God, you look just irritated with me now. And we decided, I have been wanting to do for St. Patrick's Day Leprechaun for a few years now. I think one year instead of this, Sean and I did for our annual St. Patrick's Day show, we did Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, if I remember correctly. And every year I've been trying to figure out, like, what am I going to do for St. Patrick's Day? What am I going to do for St. Patrick's Day? I've tried to make a week of this, but there's only so many Irish-oriented things that are out there to talk about.
What are you talking about? It's a nice lengthy series. We could talk about all the Leprechaun movies.
Well, yes, the Leprechaun series, sure, but I'm just saying, like if you believe it, I have spent hours going through like holiday movies trying to figure out what I could review for St. Patrick's Day. The list is not long. It's not like, Christmas or some of the other more well-known holidays. In any case, I love St. Patrick's Day. Wish I had some Guinness now, and I always enjoy doing something for St. Patrick's Day. So here we are, we're doing Leprechaun. Have you ever seen it before I pitched this to you?
I have not. I've seen not the original. I've seen. I think it's the one where they're in Vegas. I think it's 2 or 3. Like it was on in the background one day, and I was half paying attention. But the original, no. But I got to sit down. You pitched this. You said you wanted to do it. Why not have one of the resident gingers and Irishmen of the Radulich Broadcasting Network to join you? So here I am. What was very inquisitive about this, because I learned a lot through a lot of the show notes that I read. Mm-hmm. So after watching it, read a lot of the notes on it, some production notes, and was very intrigued by some of the stuff I found out.
Don't hold back. Normally, the way that On Trial has always worked in the past is Sean, after we do a table setting, Sean goes into a notes section. So I was just going to read from the Wikipedia, but if you know some interesting things you want to talk about, good, fire it away, baby.
Well, I mean, everybody knows, one of the most attractive females in Hollywood, Jennifer Aniston, who only gets better with age. This was her first major movie role. This was her quote unquote breakout role.
Is this post or pre-Friends?
This is pre-Friends.
Oh, this is pre-Friends. Okay.
Yeah,
so
this
is like her first big role then.
Yes, this is like she only had one small cameo, I think, before this, but like major role. This was her first major role, which is really interesting to see how bad this is.
Christ, you're not kidding. This is it. This is the first credited thing she's ever done, because before that is Mac and Me, where she's an uncredited extra. Wow, I had no idea. Well, this is a monumental picture. Holy cow!
Dropping knowledge on you, Mark.
Oh, you certainly are, Ollie.
But so that's the biggest thing that I learned about it. Warwick Davis wanted this to be originally this was supposed to be a straight horror movie, and not have the silliness, not have the the kind of comedic value to it. But they felt that it would be the comedic elements would actually add to the heart of the movie, I guess you could say. So that's what changed it up. They didn't want this to be a straight, like, really dark, intense horror movie, because it's a leprechaun. I mean, it's leprechauns are fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think they there was this they had I'm pretty sure it was like a rights dispute with General Mills, because in one scene they wanted him to find a box of Lucky Charms, and
get triggered,
and they nixed that. Hey, look, us Irish people are the only people that were slaves and haven't bitched about it. But anyway,
it's hilarious.
Yeah, George Lucas gets a special thank you for in this, because Warwick Davis was under contract to him, and he got special permission from George Lucas to actually appear to make this movie.
Oh, were they filming Willow at the time?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was Willow. Yeah, the movie filmed in the matter of like a month. Yeah, it was. It began filming October 28th, wrapped December 3rd of 91. So legit, like 30 days of filming. And boy, can you tell it.
Yeah, buddy.
In the cafe scene, you actually see Warwick Davis appear actually with his wife. He was out of makeup, and he's actually in the cafe scene. Him and his wife, she has a cameo in the movie. Dan Quayle actually has a special thank you for this. That was very interesting thing.
Dan Quayle?
Vice President, former Vice President Dan Quayle receives a special thank you in credit because his office sped up a working visa for Warwick Davis to do this movie. Yeah, like some of the quirky stuff that you find out about this.
Where was Warwick Davis residing at the time that he needed a passport?
England.
Okay.
He's British.
Okay.
You know that, Mark?
I did not, actually.
Well, I mean, don't you know all leprechauns come from over by the UK? I mean, come on. I thought this was common knowledge.
We talk about some pretty intense things here on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. Why do I feel like this is going to be the podcast that gets us into trouble?
Well, I mean, me dropping the slavery line might be
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 4 people killed in this entire movie, which is really interesting because you think it would have a higher body count, but yeah, there's only 4 people killed in this movie.
All right, so let's get into the plot of this thing, and then we will talk about this masterpiece of cinematic excellence. In 1983, Dan O'Grady returns to his Irish Mitch Drinkface. Dan O'Grady returns to his home in North Dakota from a trip to his native Ireland, where he stole the pot of gold from a leprechaun, don't you understand, that he interrogated. After burying the gold, O'Grady discovers that the evil leprechaun has followed him home and murdered his wife. She did an oopsie down the stairs.
Yeah, oopsie.
O'Grady uses a 4-leaf clover to suppress the leprechaun's powers as if he was holding a crucifix.
Yeah.
And trap him inside a crate. Before he can burn him, he suffers a stroke. 10 years later, J.D. Redding and his teenage daughter, Tori. I cannot believe they tried to pass off Jennifer Aniston in 1993 as a teenager. Look that up for me. How old is she actually in 1993?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. She's like, so she was born in 69, so she would have been 23, 24.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was like, that didn't seem right to me either. But anyway, his teen daughter, Tori, rent the O'Grady farmhouse for the summer. Contract workers, Nathan Murphy and his 10-year-old brother, Alex, and their dim-witted friend, Ozzy. We call them developmentally disabled now, but back in 1993, they were dimwits.
Yeah.
Well,
at least they did drop the R word.
Yeah, right. Help repaint the farmhouse. While looking around the basement, Ozzy hears the leprechaun's cry for help and mistakes him for a little child. He brushes the old 4-leaf clover off the crate, freeing the leprechaun. The leprechaun tells Ozzy that he works as a shoemaker in Ireland, but came to America looking for his gold. After failing to convince the others that he met a leprechaun, Ozzy spots a rainbow and chases it like you do, believing that he will find a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Alex accompanies him for fear that Ozzy might hurt himself. It's a legitimate fear. A bag of 100 gold coins magically appears before Ozzy. After Ozzy tests the gold and accidentally swallows a coin,
like you do.
They stash. I don't know about you, but I don't know if you've ever just taken a bite of something at its edges and suddenly swallow it for no good reason. But that's what happens.
Yeah.
They stash it in an old well and plot to keep it for themselves, hoping to fix Ozzy's brain.
Yeah, because gold equals brain surgery and intelligence.
I mean, look, this is America. Sometimes you got to pay out of pocket for medical care, and
He didn't have an HSA.
That's right. At the farm, the leprechaun lures JD into a trap by imitating a cat, biting and injuring his hand. Tori and the others rush him to the hospital, and the leprechaun follows on a tricycle. Alex and Ozzy visit
Which is hilarious.
Yeah. Alex and Ozzy visit a pawn shop to see if the gold is pure, and the leprechaun kills Joe, the shop owner, for stealing his gold, and shines the dead shop owner's shoes before leaving. I should keep reading, but he has to get the shoe shine bit in. It's like, First of all, he's wearing soft loafers, okay? They're like moccasins. Right. And they've got blood, and they're blood stained now. You're not getting blood out of a shoe with a quick wipe of your rag. It's not. He's a shiny soft shoe. Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
He's an expert shoe shiner.
That scene makes no sense. He has to either be wearing, shiny shoes or something to that effect. But he's wearing these soft loafers that are clearly of a fabric kind, and the blood is seeped into them. And it's so funny because it's I know this is how this scene is written, so I'll just deal with it. But Warwick Davis just wipes the wag over it once or twice. He's like, it's nice and shiny now. It's clearly not. It's covered in blood.
I just had a merger of movies. Now, could you imagine watching Malcolm X when they're at the shoe shining and you see Warwick Davis back there shining shoes?
Oh, in my remake of Malcolm X, I'm totally putting Warwick Davis in the leprechaun outfit, shining shoes.
There we go. Crossover.
The leprechaun fixes himself a small go-kart and goes back to the farmhouse, getting pulled over by a police officer on the way back for speeding. The police officer gets chased by the leprechaun into the woods, eventually getting killed by the leprechaun in the process. The leprechaun returns to the farmhouse where he searches for his gold and shines every shoe that he can find. He's obsessed, don't you understand? He must shine shoes. He is compelled. After leaving JD at the hospital, the group drives back to the farmhouse, finding it ransacked. Nathan checks outside where he is injured by a bear trap set by the Leprechaun. The group fights the Leprechaun outside, ganging up and beating him up with sticks and stone. After finding a shotgun in the farmhouse, they shoot the Leprechaun several times. When this has no effect, they attempt to flee the farm, but their truck's engine has been sabotaged by the Leprechaun. After ramming the truck with the go-kart, the Leprechaun terrorizes the group until Ozzy reveals that he and Alex found the pot of gold, Jason Teasley. Tori recovers the bag from the well and gives it to the Leprechaun. Believing the worst to be over, they leave for the hospital. While counting his gold, the Leprechaun discovers that he is missing the last coin that Ozzy swallowed. Thinking they have tricked him, he menaces them until Ozzy tells him about O'Grady, who was taken to a nursing home after his stroke. The group distracts the Leprechaun by throwing dirty shoes around.
You just snorted it.
I did. Not the first time I snorted on camera, and it won't be the last. Which the Leprechaun can't resist but to go and shine them. And Tori gets into the Jeep and drives off. Tori visits the home to learn how to kill the Leprechaun. After the nursing home, the Leprechaun pretends to be O'Grady. After he chases Tori to an elevator, the Leprechaun throws O'Grady's bloody body down the shaft as Tori flees. Before dying, O'Grady tells her that the only way to kill the Leprechaun is with a 4-leaf clover, which happens to grow in a big batch outside the farm.
Freshly plucked.
Yes. Tori returns to the farmhouse where she searches for a clover until she is attacked by the Leprechaun. Nathan and Ozzy save her. Ozzy reveals that he swallowed the last gold coin, and the Leprechaun critically wounds him to get it. Before the Leprechaun can kill Ozzy, Alice takes a 4-leaf clover Tori has found, sticks it in a wad of gum, and shoots it into the Leprechaun's mouth, causing him to melt away. The Leprechaun falls into the well, but his skeleton climbs out saying, "I want to be gold." Nathan pushes the Leprechaun back into the well and blows up both the well and the Leprechaun with the gasoline. The authorities arrive and Tori is reunited with her father. As the cops investigate the remains of the well, the Leprechaun vows he will not rest, don't you understand, until he recovers every last piece of his gold. I love gold. That's a different movie. All right, Jason. Why is this the best movie ever captured on film? Go.
Well, it's not. And the synopsis you read was much more entertaining and funny than the movie itself. Because as ridiculous as it sounds in the written word, it is actually that ridiculous on screen. But no, I mean, it wasn't a horror movie, like horrible movie. I mean, we've reviewed worse. I'm looking at you, Nerdland. And in your case, old boy. But yeah, I mean, it will have practical effects. The CGI for 1993 was solid for 1993. You can't look at it in the 2022 scope. It had some funny parts, like, you know, just the dirty shoe thing just got me cackling, because it's like, how in the world do you let's throw shoes at you, just shoes, because I don't remember the direct correlation how they found out that he has to polish shoes, other than he's a shoe that, like, as a throwaway line. And they decide, from that line, they decide, hey, look, we're going to throw shoes at him. It's like he's a puppy or something. He just needs shoes to play with. But like, Warwick Davis is a great actor. I mean, you know, especially from Willow. But this is what he's known for. This is his iconic role. As good as Willow was and groundbreaking as Willow was, he will always be known as a Leprechaun. And he's used that platform to, you know, be an advocate for little people in film and everything, which I think is very, very noble. Taking a silly premise, making it into a career, and using it as a platform. Like we discussed earlier, Jennifer Aniston's breakout role that she denied for the longest time that it even existed, to where her and Warwick Davis had beef. And then finally, once she realized that it was a cult favorite and everything, She was just embarrassed by it. But when she realized that it does have a nice following, that it doesn't have a toxic fandom,
mm-hmm.
and that they embraced her for what it was, she embraced the movie and just said, I was just starting out. It was my first major breakout role. I was embarrassed because I just wanted to get into acting. But so I was basically taking any role. And I was privileged to land on such a cult classic that I didn't know, if I could speak to my younger self, I would tell her to embrace it, that she is beloved for this character and this role, and she has a bright future ahead of her. And I think that's really endearing that she embraces, the silliness, not like Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey for Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 or 3, that they really legitimately went out of their way to try to block anybody from ever seeing it once they became stars. But yeah, now, did it have some bad stuff? Yeah, the plot is atrocious.
Right. I'm going to cut you off there because one, I want to. I am 100% in agreement. I think Jennifer Aniston is the best part of this movie. She's great. Like I wasn't a huge Friends fan, but I did watch a fair amount of episodes, and of course, my wife is one of these women in the world who has to watch the same show 1,000 times. It's on a rotation. Friends is on a rotation with Big Bang Theory and Family Guy. So I'm excited whenever she occasionally watches anything else. But when she just wants noise in the house, it's one of those 3 shows. And I bring that up because of that I've watched a fair amount of Friends, and which has not aged well at all. But Jennifer Aniston, who low-key has been in a lot of movies, done a lot of movies, has done a fair amount of television, and I actually think is a stellar actress. I think she is very solid. I think she's been in she has been the high point of a lot of really, really good movies. I think because she doesn't necessarily do this kind of stuff that you and me tend to watch or review on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. We forget that she's out there, but we only think about her in Friends. But Jennifer Aniston is one of the better actresses of that generation, and she kind of elevates this movie. She's supposed to be playing like a bratty teenager, and she does it great. Like, I think my one criticism is not really with her performance, but the writing of that character. She's not better off by the end of this. She's not changed by any of this than she was at the beginning. It's just that, she's a brat. She's being chased by a monster. They defeat the monster. She's still kind of a brat. She's not really learned to appreciate her new situation, but she played it really, really well. And she was very entertaining. And even while there's no sex in this movie, she has a lot of sexual chemistry with the other actor. And there were a couple of times where, like, she actually says to him at one point, she gets rid of the kid and the dimwit. And she says to the hunky guy, like, come on, let's go. It was something like you and me go cook or whatever. It was something innocuous, but but it was definitely implied shagging was going to be afoot. And I was like, I'm into this Jennifer Aniston. This is a really cool Jennifer Aniston character. I especially liked when she figures out that all the Leprechaun wants is his pot of gold back, and she doesn't care. She's like, "Fuck it, here, just take it." This was one of those things where had she known where the pot of gold was and that's all this character was after, this would have been a 5-minute movie. It would have been done, and it's great.
Yeah, this goes back to a conversation we had during Black History Month when we talked about the ladies' man and Pootie Tang and everything. Where you take a 5-minute skit and you try to expand it into a movie. This falls into that because you could have had the whole arc of this movie in about a 15-minute short.
Yeah.
But you gotta fluff it up. You gotta be the fluffer of the movie, and get a good decent runtime out of it. And this isn't bad. Like the kid annoyed me.
I was gonna get there, but I wanted to take a breath and let you comment on Jennifer Aniston. But I wanted to start off with Like, we're not doing a hard and fast, you prosecute, I defend. But one of the things that's the highlight of this movie is Jennifer Aniston's performance. The other one is obviously Warwick Davis. He looks like he's having a ball with this. Like, and this goes very specifically to what we talked about with Pootie Tang Ladies Man and Soul Plane, where I'm sure there's an impulse for some people in the world to be like, this is exploitive of people who are of, who have whatever the name of the condition is called that he has. There are people who, like, we don't want to be called dwarves, we don't want to be called minis, we don't want to be called this or that, and they would look at a movie like Leprechaun, and I'm sure there have been criticisms of this. I have not done the research, but I would imagine they're like, Leprechaun is exploitive. It's exploitive of these kinds of people. Warwick Davis doesn't seem to care. Warwick Davis is having a like Lance Crowther or Kevin Hart or Tim Meadows. They knew the assignment and they threw themselves into it, and they had a blast doing it. And he's so good in this because, again, I was thinking about, like, and I don't want to draw the ire of people like Robert Winfrey or Sean Comer, but I kind of prefer, and this is going to be a hot take, bear with me, but I kind of prefer Warwick Davis's Leprechaun to Freddy Krueger. I really do. In terms of monsters, he's not Kraken wise. He's just that character. He's obsessed with shining shoes. He wants his gold, and he's just, it's more Jason and Michael Myers than it is Freddy, but he's vocal, and he's doing the Irish accent and all of that. And he is in fact a monster, but he doesn't go overboard with it. The character itself, the way it's written, calls to some degree to be overboard, but he doesn't take it to a point where that's not what's funny about this movie. Like, he's fine in it. He's biting people, and there's a little bit of gore, but not a lot, which was fine with me. I just think he's great. Like, if Warwick Davis are working and Jennifer Aniston's working, then I think this movie is actually fairly solid and is maybe unfairly maligned. It's by far not the worst thing I've ever seen.
No, and Warwick Davis, like you said, you want to draw ire from people. I kind of agree with you because I think Freddy became too cartoonish.
Yeah.
Because he
like, he's legitimately menacing in the first Nightmare on Elm Street, but it's a downhill slide after that.
Yeah, I mean, especially once you get to Dream Warriors, which is probably the best one out of it, and they start kind of leaning more into his comedic tones and stuff and snarky comments. That's where it starts. After that movie, it takes a sharp plummet. But this is on par with Dream Warriors. I think character portrayal of Freddy versus the Leprechaun and Warwick Davis, because you have the snarky comments, but the physical comedy that Warwick Davis does in this, like when the bear trap goes off and he's just kind of running around in a circle and he's not doing anything, but he's just kind of menacing in a circle. And then they just start ganging up on him like he's a little dude. How many of you, you kind of feel sorry for him because how many people takes to beat up a leprechaun?
Well, in his defense, he is magical, and
he's magically delicious.
That's what all the girls tell me.
Yeah, but he's having fun with this role, and and that goes back to something we talked about is that he used the platform. Yeah, there's probably a lot of people that think it's exploitive about little people and everything. But also, you got to look. This is also a avenue to be known and be, to have a platform. And a lot of people, are like, well, you got to use your platform for good. What is this doing? This is putting you front and center, letting people talk about you, doing interviews so you can get a message out. And I think that is a very important aspect of him playing this character. Right. The fact he had an absolute ball with it.
When you start with we want to do an evil leprechaun story, you have to do an evil leprechaun story. You can't make him this is my other issue with Freddy. You can't make him the one you're cheering. You're supposed to be cheering for Nancy. You're supposed to be, this is actually one of my problems with this movie, but you're supposed to be cheering for Jennifer Aniston. I think that's one of the major flaws here is that Jennifer Aniston is deliciously unlikable. That you don't care if she gets killed by Warwick Davis. But I think what makes it work, and I'll repeat this, what made it work for me was he wasn't trying to kill Jennifer Aniston per se. He just wanted his pot of gold. And when she figured that out, she was like, okay, here. This isn't a revenge thing, this isn't a, like a Michael Myers, Jason, I'm just motivated to kill everybody in front of me. Like, he gets his pot of gold. There's no beef here. And the only reason why this movie is even as long as it is because the one guy, they wrote in a plot point where he swallowed the gold. So there'll always be one piece. It's like, Pirates of the Caribbean. There's that one piece of gold that's moving us into this third act and carrying it forward. Before you jump in on that point, I want to say, yes, the writing is not perfect, not by a long stretch, but it is pretty good. But it could have been better, and it could have been better if they had used Grammarly. For you listeners of the On Trial podcast, Grammarly is offering a free download of the Grammarly software. Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, spelling mistakes, while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary, and suggesting style improvements. To download Grammarly today, go to getgrammarly.com/W2M Network. Again, that's getgrammarly.com/W2M Network to download Grammarly for free. A couple of months back, Sean and I reviewed, I think it was the Halloween that follows H2O, if I remember correctly. Whatever the one with Busta Rhymes is.
That's H2O. No, that's Resurrection.
Yeah. It's whatever one follows H2O. And we talked about how most of the characters in that movie are just decidedly unlikable. So you end up cheering for Michael Myers, which is a fundamental flaw. And just listening back to a lot of the Long Road to Ruins that Robert and Sean did while I was on my various cruises and child exoduses and whatnot, was how the horror genre lurched into this place where the attraction is the monster. And so they write the movie so where you want to see the monster succeed, but you can't have it where the monster succeeds. So in the end, you have one halfway decent person, usually a girl, who survives at the end, but everybody else is meat for the monster. And you're cheering on the eating of the meat, which I don't really love about the horror genre. To be honest with you, I think you have a stronger film when you want people to succeed, and it's tragic when they get destroyed, as opposed to just watching Pac-Man eat ghosts for 90 minutes, save one girl who saves herself. Here, the only unlikable character is the kid. And I don't even think it was because I don't think he was written as unlikable. I just think the kid can't act.
Right.
His performance, and then I'll take a breath so you can jump in here. This kid, what's his name here? Robert Hyde Gorman as Alex Murphy. At least in this movie, maybe he's gotten some chops since then, but he can't act for shit. He was terrible.
No, I've seen better acting in some of the B movies that we've covered. But yeah, he was just as much as Jennifer Aniston, being her first major role, she was fine. He was not. He took you. Any scene that he was in, it just took you out of the moment. If there was any tension built or any kind of, flow structure built, as soon as he came on and opened his mouth, you was just deflated. It was like, oh, okay, let's get. I was really cheering for the kid to die. I'm not gonna lie. I was hoping the kid would die.
Let me jump in here. When we talked about Coffee and how, as good of an actress as Pam Grier is, she kind of does her line readings in actor voice. Yeah. There are very clearly some style of filmmaking where it's clearly dramatized line readings. Like, these don't sound like the way people talk. And there was a lot of that in Coffee. He was like, are you sure you want to put that needle in me? All right, it's clearly a performance here. Not a bad performance, just an obvious one. The kid delivers his dialogue in obvious actor voice, but he's a kid and he's not good at it, and he's also not an attractive black woman with huge boobs. So I'm like, I'm not into this at all. Like, it's this awful kid with awful line readings that are so obviously fake it takes you out of the movie.
I was getting ready to say, Mark, and he's a kid. That's the most important part of this comment. But yeah, not the what was his name, Otis, or the
the dimwit.
the simpleton.
Yes, Ozzy Jones, played by Mark Halton.
Now he was passable.
Oh, he's great. Have you seen him? He's the bully in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yes, but in this movie, he was passable.
Sure.
Now, that's what I'm saying. In this movie, he's passable. Now, other works, he does good. Like, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, he plays a great snooty character. But in this...
He's chubby in Teen Wolf.
Yeah, he is, isn't he?
Yes, he is. I'm actually looking at his IMDb right now.
I totally forgot that. But yeah, I mean, he's passable in this movie. It's not like he doesn't like add or subtract from the movie like the kid does.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like he's the Mary Sue that gets everything to the third act.
Mm-hmm.
Because for some reason you bite on, like you said, you bite on a coin and somehow you inhale it. I don't know. Aspirations are a hell of a thing. But yeah, everything was just kind of meh.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Aniston was a little bit above the median. Warwick Davis is a lot above the median because you could tell he was just having fun with this character in this movie.
Yeah.
But everybody else is kind of middle of the road. The kid, I was legit hoping that he died. And I wasn't even like hoping that it was an accidental death. I was hoping for brutal murder, like disembowelment or something, like something like that. But this movie was fine. I understand why it has a cult following. I understand why there's 27 sequels or so. So yeah, I mean, it's fine in the sense that it started a niche audience. It started an underground following. It has its beloved people. It did do a lot for little people in film industry. So I don't really want to shit all over this movie, but I don't want to make it, Library of Congress worthy.
Boy, you are stuck on that, man. Like, this movie's crap. Well, it's National Library of National Congress. Fine. I do want to say, so yeah, Warwick Davis is great. Jennifer Aniston's great. The kid's awful. Mark Halton is fine. He's a fine actor. I everything else that I've read off that he was great in that role. They asked him to play half an idiot. He played half an idiot here. Hunky boyfriend, Ken Oland, who plays Nathan Murphy, and he's okay. He also does a little bit of actor voice in this, but but he can pull it off, and he's not as bad as the kid. So I'm starting to think that might have been a direction from the director. A couple of things that he's been in. He was big in the 80s. He was did some television. He was on Highway to Heaven. He did a lot of TV actually back in the 80s. He was on Riptide, The Fall Guy, V, The Love Boat, The A-Team, Airwolf, Simon and Simon, Rags to Riches, Gunsmoke. He was on an episode of 21 Jump Street, Murder, She Wrote. And so yeah, it looks like this might have been he's in so I almost put this on the calendar for this year, and I might still if I can find time to do it, just for fun, or maybe I'll save it for next year. The horror movie April Fool's Day. Have you ever seen this?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to talk April Fool's Day one year.
It's an interesting movie. It's an interesting concept.
This is just it's just one of the many 80s slasher movies. More recently, again, he's done a lot of television, Battle Creeks, House, Criminal Minds. So, he's B-level television actor. He's okay in this, and certainly he has a lot of nice, what you need for this. I mean, above all else, his acting could have been just as was even worse. But what it gets away with it is whether or not he has any sexual chemistry with Jennifer Aniston, and he does in a plum. Like those two for a sexless movie light up the screen pretty good. I was into it.
Yeah, they've got that tension there.
Yeah,
and it's good because it teases that line just enough
It's almost but borderline pornographic, to where I feel like there were a couple of scenes where them together where they then go off camera, and I'm like, they totally went to bang, but they cut that part out of the movie. Except in France. France gets it all. France gets it all.
France gets the director's cut.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we could, like I said, we could totally roast this movie for how poor the writing was, but it had bright spots.
Well, the thing of it is, the writing is solid enough. The monster wants his gold back. There are obstacles in the way of getting his gold back. The monster, but the monster attacks people until he gets his gold the way he wants it. End of discussion. It's actually a solid premise. It's just some of the dialogue writing is a bit goofy.
I just got one question. So the whole shamrock thing from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
He's in a crate with a shamrock on top of it. Is there no wind in that basement? Because I'm pretty sure that the shamrock would have blown off, within a day or two. But I gotta know, what is this like? Super glue shamrock? Because when it gets knocked off, it
was a totally airless room. It was a clean room.
Yeah. I mean, it was like basically vacuum sealed. Because obviously, in 10 years, no wind has ever entered that room.
Not a mouse crawled over it. Nothing.
Yeah, not a spider.
Even a mouse returned Ant-Man back to the real world from the quantum universe, but there were no mice present in this basement.
Yeah, Charlotte was up in the corner writing haikus and swung by. Nothing.
Yeah,
but
it's a little scratches credulity just a bit. One last question I want to ask you, and then we'll call it.
Okay.
Admittedly, I had this on while I was pulling art for the month of March and working on podcast stuff. So I would watch stuff out of that. I mean, this was not a movie. I'm sorry. This was not a movie I had to pay that close attention to. I got the gist. But I'm also not the world's biggest horror fan, so I'm not the best person to ask this, but you are. You, Robert, Sean, Cooper, Benjamin, we're all the big horror guys throughout the years we've been doing these podcasts. So I want to ask you, did this meet the minimum criteria as an entertaining horror movie in terms of kills and attacks?
Yes, because a lot of horror movies, classic horror movies, don't have that many kills. The suspense of a kill.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't judge a horror movie by body count.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what the musical preference is. Body count is
in the house.
There. Yeah.
Body count is absolutely in the house. Let me tell you about this motherfucker called Moose Man.
But yeah, I mean, you had a believable monster that had a set purpose, that done everything to get to his purpose. So yeah, I mean, it meets the minimum requirements to be a horror movie. Look at the Blair Witch. I mean, it kicked off a found footage. Look at, Paranormal Activity. Some of these movies are considered classic horror movies now for their time. So yeah, this meets all the minimum requirements.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like Paranormal Activity, the first one, actually scares the piss out of me, and no one dies until the end.
Yeah, and it's only got one person that dies.
Right. I mean, Katie technically dies. She becomes a demon, but yeah, that's neither here nor there. But the point is, it's the boyfriend that gets yeeted into the camera and is dead now with a broken neck, and that's it. That's all for you. That's the one
eagle.
The one kill in the entire movie, and it's at the very end before she gets all demon sexy in front of the camera, and then the lights go out.
Is it bad that I find her kind of hot?
Demon Katie or Katie?
I mean, I wouldn't kick either one of them out of bed unless they wanted to fuck on the floor. But
I mean, I'm stealing that. Let me take a minute. I got to think about it because, okay, so Katie's body doesn't change at all, and Katie's got Katie's got sex body. That's cool. And Katie has sex face. But when she turns into a demon, not so much. So
I find her just as hot. I mean,
even with demon face?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
Demons need love too.
All right, I'm gonna make a ruling here. I think it's okay to think Demon Katie is sexy and want to bang her.
Yeah.
There's my ruling. It's okay to bang Demon Katie.
That's the ruling on Leprechaun. It's okay to bang Demon Katie from Paranormal Activity.
Perfect. Nothing more needs to be said about this. Case dismissed.
2 years probation.
I was listening to this podcast. They were talking about Leprechaun, and their final comment was, bang Demon Katie from Paranormal Activity. I don't know how these two got there. I'm thinking drugs. All right. So there it is. There's our St. Patrick's Day show. Hey, you soulless ginger, I have a question for you.
What question would that be, Mark?
It's St. Patrick's Day, and I feel like both of us are very underdressed for this. Like, we both should have been wearing green St. Patrick's Day shirts. Only I don't know if mine would have shown up with my green screen behind me.
Yeah.
But either way, it's St. Patrick's Day, as I said, 106 times now. And you need to be drinking, but you also need to be listening to good music. You need to be partying. You need to be in the bars listening to good old-fashioned Irish drinking songs. And I just so happen to have a playlist here from Amazon Music Unlimited for St. Patrick's Day music. Can I read some of these to you, Jason?
Yes.
Of the Second and Short podcast?
And yes, and I will tell you if it does not have a certain song on it,
okay,
and that it is not a Irish playlist that's worthy of my listening abilities.
Let's see if this St. Patrick's Day music curated by Amazon music experts, so the website tells me, meets Jason Teasley's Irish muster. And see if it passes muster. If I should fall from grace with God by the Pogues. Just give me a yes, no.
Yes.
I'm not gonna read all of these, just the ones that I find mildly amusing. I'm shipping up to Boston, the Dropkick Murphys.
Okay, we're
good.
It's a list that does get my ire. I'll listen to anything on it, as long as it has Dropkick Murphys shipping up to Boston.
It has Chip by the Real Mackenzies. Have you ever heard the Real Mackenzies?
I have not.
Okay, so if you're into Irish punk, they're really, really good. I actually heard this playlist on. We had just a regular punk playlist going, and this came on, and it was particularly good. Drunken Lullabies by Flogging Molly. Have you heard this song? It's fantastic.
Yes, it is.
Dude, you want to get into this, the happiest, punchiest, drunkiest mosh pit ever. Drunken Lullabies by Flogging Molly. You will punch a baby to Drunken Lullabies by Flogging Molly.
And I have been known to punch babies. Anyway.
Irish Rover by the Blackguards. Irish Pub Song by the High Kings. The Three Little Jigs by Enter the Haggis.
I've heard that once.
What the fuck is Enter the Haggis?
I remember I heard that drunken at a St. Patty's party bar crawl that I went to.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was being played. Of course, I could have just made that up, and because I was too drunk.
Or maybe you were drunk.
I was drunk. There's no disputing that.
If you're not drunk, you're not drunk on St. Patrick's Day. You have wasted your life. The Rocky Road to Dublin. Barrels of Whiskey by the O'Reillys and the Patty Hats. Yes, once again, the second year in a row I'm doing this bit, and it still gets moderately insulting as you go along. Drinking All Day by the Bible Code Sundays. Sure.
No, but I think I need to check that out.
The Beer Song by Gaelic Storm. Sounds like a metal album.
I've heard that.
Meet Me on McLean by Shillelagh Law.
I have not heard that.
Galloway Girl by the Elders, Ratlin Bog by the Irish Descendants, the Wild Rover by the Dubliners, and finally, we end this list with the Irish Rover by, once again, the Dropkick Murphys from the Going Out in Style album. And do you know, Jason Teasley, where you can hear this for free?
Where may I check this podcasting listening ability out for free with a free 30-day trial, Mark?
On Amazon Music Unlimited. That's right. We are giving away a free 30-day trial of the Amazon Music Unlimited service. The link that you need to click in the description of this podcast is getamazonmusic.com/W2M network. Again, that's getamazonmusic.com/W2M network for all your holiday music needs. If you're in a fix, you've got people coming over, you've got hors d'oeuvres, little hot dogs, little shrimps, a fish sandwich, if you will. And you need to get some music on, hey, click that link in this podcast, get your 30-day trial, and Amazon has a whole bunch, just like this one, of holiday curated playlists with all your favorites on it. These were some great ones here on the St. Patrick's Day one. There's some great Christmas ones, and whatever holiday you can think of. Maybe you're going to have a 4th of July barbecue, Jason Teasley. Maybe just for one day in your life, you're not going to have a fish sandwich, and you're going to get some American ribs and an American flag and Kid Rock, and you need a playlist to let you know that you're proud to be an American and here the USA. You can go to Amazon Music Unlimited with this free trial, and it won't cost you a thing. Isn't that wonderful? Don't we look like ourselves?
That is wonderful. I'm looking up Demon Katie right now.
All right, Demon Katie.
Yeah,
I can't do it, man. That's a hit from the back situation.
Oh, dude,
or with the lights off at least.
Dude, I don't know.
No, you're not saying anything. You're just making sounds.
Katie's got back. I mean, look at
she
that.
She does. Did I not just say you hit Demon Katie from the back? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. See.
Okay. First of all, in that picture, she looks emo. You got to get the full Demon Katie picture. Go find the fourth one where she's running at the camera.
Well, I mean, beauty's a light switch away, Mark. I've had plenty of ex-girlfriends tell me that.
We're all the same size and pretty with the lights off, lying down. I get it.
Whatever, Mark. I would buy you a fifth sandwich because your dad was a butcher because he shoved 2 fine hams down the back of your pants.
All right. This podcast got weird in a hurry, so let's call it. All right. So it is St. Patrick's Day. Yesterday, we had another St. Patrick's show, but I couldn't do 2 in one day. So yesterday was our House of Pain Fine Malt Lyrics review. You can check that out in the archive. Plus, we did a reaction video to the Butch Vig remix of Shamrocks and Shenanigans to go along with it. We're going to be doing more of those as time goes on. So check that out. It's the something anniversary now of V for Vendetta. So we re-aired a comic strip that we did back when we were doing Alan Moore month a few years ago. We compared the V for Vendetta comic by Alan Moore to the movie that came out with Padme from, what's her name? Damn it. She's, what's her face? Jane Foster. Damn it. Who's the actress's name?
Jane Foster.
Yeah, you're killing me over here.
Yeah, her.
Yeah, her. Padme. So Padme from Star Wars. People listen to this podcast. It's her, you dumbass.
Yeah.
Talented actress.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we are comparing the movie with her in it to the comic book for V for Vendetta, and I would like to remind everybody, fuck Firestorm. We also did, this was a re-air from many, many years ago, one of the first Long Road to Ruins that I ever did, where I had my friend Tom on, my best friend from like birth. It's like my brother from another mother, and we had the great debate. We compared Revenge of the Sith to Return of the Jedi.
Natalie Portman.
That's the one. So you can check that out. Before that, we had another Long Road to Ruin. This was a 2-part episode that aired, which you can check in the archives. The Hunger Games, parts 1 and 2. Tomorrow, we're done with all this Irish foolishness, but we will be doing another re-air. It is Damn You Hollywood for London Has Fallen from a few years ago. And then this Saturday, we got a whole bunch of stuff, fun stuff for you. Stuart Lang is going to be doing his first ever, in theory, alternative commentary for the heaviest boxing match in history, Thor versus Eddie. It's going to be fantastic. I cannot wait. We'll also have a re-airing of Voltron Season 2. And in the evening, Dan Lasby and I, in theory, will be doing a alternative commentary for Edgar Berlanga versus Steve Rolls on ESPN. And then Sunday, the boys from Life is Like a Game Show and I are going to be talking Quiz Show. And then when we're done with all that, myself and Harry Broadhurst are going to be doing yet another Indie Ciders TV party for Terminus 2, and Prestige and West Coast Pro Wrestling Savage Mode featuring Malachi Black. So that's all for me. Thanks. I'm driving. Check us out on all your social media, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. We have a presence there, and we're on every podcast you can think of. Apple Music, Spotify, those are the two big ones, but also Stitcher. No, not Stitcher. Whatever. Podbean, radio, that radio.
Flick Your Bean.
Whatever. Sure. That's where you can find me. You can also find Jason Teasley's Second and Short podcast.
Yeah, you can find us on any podcast listing forum that Mark has listed previously. We do have a YouTube channel. The TikTok is ramping up rapidly. Ty is putting out some amazing content over there. The Instagram page is in full force. Go back and listen to our divisional breakdown of buy, keep, trade, have them for dinner with your mother on a Sunday.
Sell, whatever.
Go out for ice cream on a Tuesday. Dynasty forecast. We're ramping up for the draft that is forthcoming. We just finished up some combine talk. I'm sure that's going to be dropping on one of our multiple platforms. So, yeah, definitely check us out. Of course, you could always find us here on the W2M network. So, and as for me, the Protocol Son, you can always find me hanging out with Mark on the most outlandish of movies. We got some real fun ones coming up if Mark doesn't lose his mind and the schedule changes again.
I thought I changed this on my calendar. Yeah, we're going to be doing the next time you'll see Jason's actually in a couple of weeks. We're going to be doing a triple feature for some new streaming movies, Fresh on Hulu, starring what's his face there, who's on Pam and Tommy and Winter Soldier.
Sam Sebastian. Bucky Barnes. Yeah, Bucky Barnes.
So we'll be reviewing Fresh, The Adam Project, and No Exit. Two of those are on Hulu, and one of those will be, by the time this happens, one of those will be on Netflix. I think The Adam Project is the new Ryan Reynolds movie.
Yes.
That went straight to streaming. So check that out, people. That's where you'll see Jason and I next. All right. We've rambled for too long now. It's time to go. The St. Patrick's Day is over after we had another year for one of my favorite holidays. I'm sad now, Jason.
I'm sorry, Mark. Sorry. I will make it up to you.
You're going to send me a fish sandwich in the mail?
No, we are pimp walking in a few months.
That's right. Check out our TikTok as you see me and Jason in pinstripe suits walking down Universal Boulevard in doing our pimp walk.
How surprised will you be if I actually do show up in a pinstripe suit with a wide brim hat?
I will be undressed.
Just no shirt underneath. I'm just going to have a jacket on, no shirt underneath. A few chest hairs showing. The
real question will be, how mortified will my daughter be? Dude, I had House of Pain in my brain tonight before we set the podcast up, and I walked over to her and I just start going, man. I was like, pack it up, pack it in, let me begin. And she's like, just fucking stop, dude.
Well,
I got shut down by the 11-year-old.
Well, I'll have my 15-year-old with me at the time, so they can be mortified together.
That's true. They can share in the mortification, which I believe is as good a way as any to end this podcast. Share in our mortification and join us next time. For Jason Teasley, the Protocol Son from Second and Short, I'm Mark Radulich. Please like and subscribe wherever you find us, especially on YouTube. Be well, be safe, and behave.